Let's get into this, Clark. I was pretty excited about starting this little kitchen and wrapping it up, knocking it out, and honestly, I just wanted to get done. And a buddy of mine and I, we wanted to go up to the Upper Peninsula and spend a couple days up there, get some things done. I was rather excited about it, but I was maybe a little too excited because some things went wrong here on this small kitchen. The first thing I did is I installed these two upper cabinets. Just ran some screws where they're going to go into the studs, and I immediately noticed that some things were off. So I took them back down, which isn't the end of the world. They're just, it's no big deal. A couple screws, pull them down, and start to get an idea of what's going on. I use a laser a lot. Part of my background was high end like luxury retail spaces where you'd be doing maybe 100 feet of cabinetry, and a 4 foot level is not going to cut it. So we used to lasers just all day, every day. So I got used to using them. Not everyone's really fond of using lasers, but I use them a lot. And this is an example of why you might want to consider using a laser. What I do here is I draw a little mark on the ground 3 inches away from the wall at one end of it, and then 3 inches away from the wall at another. And I connect the dots, and then I measure right where I ran those screws through the back of those cabinets. And I measure right to the laser, and I write down the measurement. So try to be 3 inches away from the wall, and you can see my measurements are 3 inches, 2 and 15 sixteenths, 2 and 7/8. I think the smallest measurement was actually 2 and 5/16. And the difference between 2 and 5/16, Clark, and 3 is a lot, right around 11/16 of an inch. So I had some playing around to do with this wall to kind of keep it flat. If the wall isn't flat and the cabinets are meant to be flat, there's no way that you're going to install them right. And they have to be perfect. These are frameless cabinets, and they've got to be installed to the wall perfectly flat. So I put some spacers behind there, stacked them up, and you can see I didn't like what I was looking at. I got a dumbfounded look on my face, Clark. I'm just going too fast. I was just too confident, and I was eager to knock out a small project that shouldn't have taken me too long. And it got the best of me. I was overlooking some details, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So again, not the end of the world if you got to take down some cabinets. Just a couple of screws, no big deal. But right there, Clark, you see that screw hole? You see that screw hole, Clark? That I couldn't see. On the back side of the cabinet, there's some buildups that the screw goes through. But clearly, I had my spacers on the bottom part too high. They're way too high, Clark. That's never going to work. They just go into space. I might as well not even put them there. It took me a second to figure it out, man. I was getting frustrated, but I figured it out, and I lowered these down into the space where that part of the cabinet is going to have a screw run through it. And I thought it was just one, but it took me a second. I wish I was smarter, faster sometimes, Clark. Yep, you gotta lower all of them. The ones at the top, and they were fine, but the ones at the bottom, I was just totally missing them. So use a flesh mallet there. Make sure they're nice and tight and flat and tight together. I make sure that the bottom seam where they come together is parallel and the seam is tight. And put the old clamp down there. Put the old man clamp on there, and I make sure The bottom leading edge is nice and straight. All right, now here's our next challenge. This is a big one. Small cabinets. They're just narrow cabinets to the right. This one, in this case, is to the right of the microwave. And there's nothing to fasten the cabinet to. So you got to use toggles. And I really like these toggles that I use. They're like a pull toggle. And I'm going to demonstrate how they work. These required a 1/2-inch hole, and you push the little metal part into the drywall, and then you tug it, and it turns perpendicular to itself, and then it can't pull out. And then you put that little friction clip in the hole, and it's a little bit tough to push it in. It's hard to do it with just your fingers. So I grabbed a Leatherman here. I pushed it in nice and snug, and the black part of that, it's just a breakaway. You just pop those off, and now you have a receiver for a screw, because I already put my cabinet on the ledger board there, and then pre-drilled some holes, and that's how I located my my toggle location. So that's the brand right there. You just get those at the home center. I think I got those at Home Depot, and they work great, man. They hold a lot of weight, and so the next one is the cabinet right below it. And of course, there's nothing behind the drywall that I can screw to, so I got to use a toggle. So unfortunately, I ran out of those pull toggles, and I had these regular toggles, and these are fine in most cases, but if you're trying to line 4 of them up at the same time, and I had a hard time with it, it's not much fun. I mean, I fought it, and I should have pushed those out a little further, but they spin off in the wall, and once they do, if you're on your third one and your third one spins off, you got to start over, and you're going to go through some toggles that way. So I wish I had a bucket of those pull toggles. In this case, man, I tell you what, it really would have helped me. Anyway, I got that all straightened around. Everything's nice and level. But I put a laser at the end of the run of the cabinetry, and I make sure that laser line hits the same point on all of the cabinets, so they're nice and straight across the front edge. And you also have to maintain your 30, maybe 30 and an eighth inch dimension for your stove. Now, this is a refrigerator cabinet, obviously above the refrigerator, and I didn't want to pull that refrigerator out. I use these little airbags to lift that cabinet up in place and run some screws into it. The rest of this kitchen is pretty straightforward, and I make sure that I double check my dimensions. I make sure the sink cabinet is centered on that opening. All my math comes off that, and I got the crown molding up and all my fillers in, and everything's looking pretty good. It's very important that you have the all of the cabinets on a straight line, so your crown molding lays nice and flat. You don't have any huge gaps like the one between your ears, Clark. The rest of this, kitchen, it went good. Everything was geometrically perfect, and I got myself done and out of there. And a buddy of mine and I were up in the UP, just going through this big field. It used to be there was a big forest fire. It used to be full of trees. Now it's full of grass and blueberries, and lots of wildlife and birds and lions and tigers and bears and angry birds with knives.